listeners. My name is Kev Duffy, and I'm the host of this, the fourth episode of What's Your Random podcast, where I discover and celebrate independent creativity from the mysteries of inception, the ideas that fuel our creative projects, to the practicalities of process and bringing those ideas to fruition into being as works of art. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to recognize the people who make this podcast possible. You, my listeners, that's you. This is our pilot season. I've recently committed to myself and anybody out there listening that I would do 20 episodes before the end of 2020, having just started the end of October here. And it's a very doable goal, and I might even exceed it. But what I can ask of you as we try to improve this podcast is, write to us at What's Your Random on Twitter and Instagram, and let us know if you have any recommendations for how we could improve the podcast. And also, if you're listening on iTunes or any other podcast app, Spotify, make sure you like us and subscribe to us and give us a rating. Hopefully you enjoy the podcast and you are willing to give us 5 stars. If not, give us the stars that you think we deserve. We're willing to take what we deserve. We are also on YouTube with some videos. We do these conversations by video, so you could see all of our expressions over the course of these conversations. My guest today was Peter Ricq. He has a Kickstarter that's live right now with 2 weeks left for his book, Ghosts Are People Too. So go check it out. The book is a 42-page illustrated book for fans of Edward Gorey, Tim Burton, and Neil Gaiman. I was not aware of Edward Gorey during our conversation, but I looked up some images thereafter and was kind of blown away. And I love the way that it influenced Peter's illustrations for the book that he speaks about with me on this podcast. I adore the illustrations and the amount of work, I'm looking at them right now, that went into each one of them. And after my conversation with Peter, I came to appreciate even more his intention, the intention he came to this book with, which was to empower kids to challenge their fears and overcome their fears. Because sometimes that's all we need to do is just challenge the things we fear most to realize that they're not that scary after all. And that is something I applaud, and I'm very excited for this book to be released. So without further ado, I introduce my guest today, Peter Ricq.
Is that a
question? I guess if you could introduce yourself, and I found out about you because of your current Kickstarter, Ghosts Are People Too. So if you could introduce yourself and whatever makes you random, what makes that project random.
Okay. My name is Peter Ricq. That's Ricq. It's my dad's from France, and it's a French name that's really rare. So even French people don't have Ricq there. Anyway, so it's just a random name. And I do art that's very random because I go from horror to kids to like super violent and graphic to like super PG. And some of the PG stuff I do has element of horror in it, just like the Kickstarter I'm running right now. It's called Ghosts Are People Too. And it's about Ethan Albee, who's a ghost, who's afraid of humans, and he wants to be your friend, and he shares his what's it like to be a ghost and why we shouldn't be afraid of one another. So it's really good for kids in that sense, so that if you have a kid who's a scaredy cat and is afraid of ghosts and doesn't want to go to sleep or can't go to sleep, you get him this book, and hopefully he finds that he understands ghosts better and isn't afraid of them. And that could be applied to not only the supernatural. So it's got a good theme and message. Before that, I've done A King's Vengeance, which is like a rated R, super violent comic book. Before that, I did more like a teen comic book, which is called Once Our Land. And I'm in a band called Humans that we've toured the world. And another one called Gang Signs, Lady Friend, a new one called Samatata, a new solo rock band called The Red. It's all pretty random in that sense. What else do I do? I'm a filmmaker. I directed a bunch of music videos and some animated series, and I did a horror comedy called Dead Shack, which is a mix of Night of the Living Dead with Goonies. So kids swearing, killing zombies, super violent, funny comedy. Yeah.
That's a lot to dig into.
Yeah.
And when I was kind of investigating you and I found you and your project, I looked kind of superficially because I didn't want to come in with too many preconceived notions or a full understanding of your biography, so that it would be, pretty surprising to find out the depth of all of your creative endeavors. But I did notice that you had many, including music and comic and film, which kind of spans almost all media I could think of. Was there a specific starting point? I guess, when did you start your career in creative spaces, and what was your foundation? And
so I always drew a lot. I think I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was really young. I was drawing comic books when I was super young. And then I found that when I found out that what a director does, I was like, that's what I want to be. And no one knew how to become a director. And my parents said, oh yeah, you got to start by being an actor and you got to do theater, which is like totally not how you direct. Like that's not the way to do it, the path. So my parents were 100% wrong with that. And then when I was doing some work when I was a teenager, this old man is like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And then so I want to be a director. Like,
wait, who is that old man?
Is
there more context there?
My dad bought a super white trash apartment building, and he was like an old man who lived in this building. So really low house income people. Some were dope. Some of them were just weird. Yeah, and so I was doing the construction, because nobody would want to hire me because I was like stoned, even though I wasn't. I just naturally like super chill. So yeah, this old man is like, so what do you want to be? And it's like, I want to be a director. It's like, but you're not Jewish. You can't go to Hollywood and make movies if you're not Jewish. It's like, what? And then it just like seemed like such a far reach. But after going to comic book school, and I went to animation school, university. I studied Concordia University in Montreal. I was like, because my parents really wanted me to go to university, and I was like, what am I going to do there? Like, I'm not interested in anything besides art and music. And then my friend is like, oh yeah, I'm going to university. I got into film animation. It's like, you can draw cartoons and go to university? That sounds great. I could do that. So, and then it got me closer to be a film director, because I wanted to do live action, not necessarily animation, but I did like animation a lot. So with that, you're like this, you're the set designer, you're the director, you're the actor, you're art director. You do everything, right? You can be the writer, and I could do the music. So it gave me a good sensibility to be a full director and do everything. So I really like that. And then when I moved to Vancouver, I sold a TV show called The League of Super Evil. And with all the money I was doing, I was spending it on going to music shows. So then I started the bands, and then I started making the music videos for the band, and then I got into live action with that, and then eventually made a movie. And with the TV shows, like I was really unhappy with working with some of the producers. They take your idea and there's so many cooks in the kitchen, and your idea isn't really what you envision at first. So,
Is that specifically about that League of Evil or
well, League of
that?
Evil, like we want to be more mature, but to make a cartoon that's more mature is about $10,000 to $100,000 an episode, and if you make a kids show, it's like 250 to 400,000 an episode. So like it just made a lot more sense for them to change it, and then it was our first show, so we didn't have a lot of say. Um, but that still was our best show that we've done because the studio was like really good at what they were doing. And I got to art direct, and my friends were the story editors. And then on the other shows, I just created them, and then I was focusing more on music, so I didn't really have my hands on so much.
And what's the pitch like for that? Are you writing these on spec, or are you contracted to write and just churn out ideas for a production company or something like that?
So when you do the show Bible, it's about 20 pages. So you have your like the poster, and then you have your character bio, and then the locations, and then 5 episode synopsis. And then when you sell that to them, it's up to the studio if they want to hire you. So if they don't hire you, like that's it. They bought it, and you're gonna get maybe like episodic royalties and through royalties. But you try to get hired on your own show and trying to get like a nice position and a creative position, and you're trying to get a studio that you're not going to fight with, that you see eye to eye with, and other creators who you like, that you see that you don't want the same vision. And so
more collaborators than
and I think Cartoon Network is really good in that sense because the creators get to write their own song and be really involved and do the voices. But I think in Canada, it's a bit different because it's a lot of money from the government, and people have been doing it for a long time. And if you're not an actor, you can do voices, and they want to get like they're more by the book and less like, hey, let's try something weird out.
Right. And do you think that it worked to your strength to be a man of many talents then, because you could kind of work multiple angles?
No,
or is it
they just want you to do your one thing, and that's it, and don't fucking like try to step on anyone else's toes and compartment. I got I want to do this. I was trying to pitch to do the theme song to my show, and then they get me to pitch amongst a bunch of people, and it says on the contract that I have first try. It's like, yeah, first try, but with everybody else, like it doesn't work like that. I don't think that's what that means in the contract. And then I was bitching at them. It's like, guys, you said you don't want horror like woo theme song, and then I tried to send the other ones, but I disagree. I think we should go back to the horror aspect. And then they said, yeah, you're right, we're going to go back to the horror aspect, and so because you didn't reapply with the same song, your horror song, then you didn't get chosen. I was like, what kind of fucking deal is that? And then
it's illogical.
And then for Peter, you can be a creator, a director, and a music guy. I was like, dude, I sold music to Passengers, a Hollywood movie. I got my songs in CSI Miami. I got it in Entourage. I got I named all these shows. And then his rebuttal is just to ghost me.
And is that the inspiration for Ghosts Are People too? You're trying to reconcile your feelings towards that guy.
Yeah. So, and then with Once Our Land, it got really good reviews, and I got to do exactly the way I want. So it was fun in that sense. And I do like working with people. I've worked with other people and other stuff like Dead Shack. My producer there was like super supportive. She was there for me, and so it just depends who you're working with. And all the music videos I've done, I hire people that I like, and it always goes super well. It's just like I know when I guess older people sometimes they don't want to see younger people making more money than them and have more say. They just like, gets under their skin. So maybe that's what it is. I have no idea. But
Do you think it gets under their skin just from like a business side of the equation, or is it also that you're tapping into some generational cultural interest that they don't have access to any longer because they've kind of aged out of something?
I think they've been doing it for a long time and that's just the way it works. And yeah, I remember with like the League of Super Evil, the series director, the first one, he was very old school, like Hanna-Barbera kind of designs. And he always wanted the bigger the face, the better, the more you see the expressions. And I came from like, I was 27 at the time. I was like, we don't draw like that anymore. Like Hanna-Barbera is not the cool design look. And if you have somebody you want him to be really strong, like you give him really big muscles, a big chest, and then a little head to show how big and strong he is. But you make it the head size the same as everyone else's head size. You won't give him a huge head size, so his head is 10 times bigger than everybody else in the show. And he's like, no, the bigger the head, the bigger the eyes, the more the expression. It's like, no, you want him to have a head 10 times bigger? It's like, yeah, bigger is better. It's like, So it's just like, we grew up, that was cool, I guess, when they were young, and everything changes,
Yeah. From an illustration and animation standpoint, what are your biggest influences? And I peeped I think it was your art for the comic book. Yeah.
So yeah, I did a comic book and I had more control, and I thought the story and feedback turned out better than a lot of the shows. Like a lot of the shows we did, so some kids would be like, the creator of the show should die. It's like, yeah, it's not even our show. And I never got any feedback like that from like Monster Land. It's usually people like, oh, this my daughter's favorite comic book. I really love the story. Like my friends saying, oh, it's got so much heart. It's so nice. Yeah. So then I just started making more comic books, and then after the last, that was super violent one, I still got some really good reviews from it. I saw Edward Gorey's book, The Ghastly Crumb Tinies, and it just reminded me how much I like books like that are kind of spooky, but for kids. And yet adults would like it too, and it could be something you could give, in Christmas as a Christmas gift, or anybody who likes Halloween. So I just decided to do something, a kid's book, but that adults would like too. And I do love network shows a lot, like Clarence and Cube Universe. So I want to have like a contemporary animation look, and Tim Burton was a big inspiration. I looked up into I loved Akira when I was growing up, like a teenager. What else? Garfield when I was a really young kid. I just sorry.
No, Heathcliff.
What's Heathcliff? Is he the voice?
Heathcliff is another cat animation that was pretty old school.
It's like the black cat, and he's having sex and stuff like that.
No, he was orange, and Heathcliff and the Alley Cat Gang or something like that. It was like
I don't know that.
Analogous to Garfield in a way.
Really?
Just a curmudgeoningly old cat that but I mean, Garfield lived inside. Heathcliff was a street cat. But,
amazing.
Yeah.
You just sent it to me. Yeah, I liked everything and all kinds of stuff. So I think it's just a big mixed match of everything. Because there's a little bit of anime, European, and American vibes, like in the work I do, even the comic books. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly.
And how do you? I mean, what struck me was when I looked at your other Kickstarter comic book, the art is quite different. The much more round faces for ghosts are people too,
Yeah.
and the big eyes. I guess it's more appealing for kids, but even it seems mostly black and white or very limited color palette, and a lot of what's the word for templing? Yeah,
Point
templing.
Yeah.
Which is really beautiful and kind of a departure from the limited images I saw from the other comics. So yeah, if you could speak to kind of changing your style, and I guess a lot of people get stuck in a style. So how do you make such a leap between those two?
So I do fine art as well, and I started doing stippling from that. I had a girlfriend in college, and she did stippling, and I saw that's when I saw it for the first time. I was like, why would you do that? It takes forever, but it looks so good. And then after doing fine arts like paintings and illustrations for a long time, I decided to start doing stippling, see how cool it could look, and I started really liking the outcome of it. And when I saw Edward Gorey's book, I thought if I do a kid's book, I can do it in that stippling style, so it looks old and creepy, like an old ghost book. Yeah. And that's something I can't do with comic book pages, because it would take me, a month for one page, as opposed to Once Our Land was about, with the color and everything, it's about 5 to 7 days. And
for then, one image?
No, for the whole page. And then in King's Vengeance, I didn't want to do a comic book that took that long, so I changed the style and was very inspired by Mike Mignola with all the limited shadowing in the colors, and then a lot of blacks for the shadows when you do the ink, so you don't have to do so many details. And it's just like the forms and everything. So with the King's Vengeance, it would take me like an hour a page.
The fun of virtual communication podcasts.
I think that's about it for the style. It was just I could change the style for this one and make it look more old school, because it was only an illustration per page as opposed to full page, and it really worked with the look I was going for and the feel and the theme. Yeah.
And is it digitally illustrated, or?
No, it's all hand done. The colors are done digitally, but I also have an art show right now in Penticton, BC, where I have the actual drawings. And you can buy 2 of the original drawings on the Kickstarter. And if you want, there's for $300, you can get me to draw Ethan Albee in stippling as a reward. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And how did you arrive at this character and this project? You kind of mentioned when we started that you were, scaredy cat kids who can't go to sleep. You want to have a gentler introduction to ghosts and the supernatural. Is there a particular kid that you had in mind?
No, not really. I know that I think I would be afraid of ghosts if I saw one. Maybe it's secretly I'm doing it for myself. But I have some friends, and their kids are really scared of things, and they said this book was too scary for them, even though it's not scary at all. But I think if you think your kids are too scared of this book, that's why you should get them that book.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah.
And for those who were like me, I liked horror stuff as a kid, and like Beetlejuice, Alien and Aliens, anything that had to do with ghosts and horror, I was really into. The Predator, I saw that when it first came out. Those are fun. RoboCop, super violent, part of my favorite movie as a kid. So for me, I love stuff like that, especially like Halloween themed stuff, and so yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find equivalents to Goonies or like Lost Boys, or there was something about that era in the 80s that carried over to the early 90s.
Totally.
Of like dark macabre
Yeah.
stuff that we don't have anymore. I mean, I was searching on Netflix for something to watch for Halloween, and I was hard pressed to find anything that had that kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like Fright Night was awesome, and even the remake was pretty good. But
Have you seen that Babysitter movie? That was kind of interesting. It was different. It was a little bit more hilarious.
I did not like it at all. And
No?
my brother's like, hey man, I saw that Babysitter movie. It reminded me a lot of your movie. It's like, no.
I don't feel bad bringing it up then, considering I don't know you. And your brother thought the same thing.
Yeah.
It just came to mind.
Yeah, I know some people liked it. But horror comedy it's hard. Like comedy in general is hard to, because there's a lot of movies that I hate that people love. Like the last movie where it's like Euro.
I didn't even watch it. Yeah.
Some people think it's the funniest movie ever, and people that I know that I trust that I like, and I couldn't even finish that movie.
You no longer like them?
No, I do still like them. It's so particular, like horror and comedy, especially like it's either for you or it's not, like that certain type, you know. And I think that's what happens with horror comedy. A lot of people like hate horror comedy just because it just doesn't get their right tone of humor.
Have you seen the new Adam Sandler movie that was on Netflix?
No, I heard it's so bad. I can't.
It was unwatchable.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just a way lower target age, but I mean, at the same time, you would want to make something that is accessible for all audiences, even if the target is specific.
And that's what I do with my work. Even though this is a kid's book, goes for people too. It's adults would like it too, and they would get some of the humor that some of the kids wouldn't get. Yeah,
I think that's important. That's why I like, I still like, embarrassingly so, Arthur, the Aardvark cartoon. It's a PBS, like US. It's a children's book that was made into a TV show.
Really?
Yeah. Are you not familiar with it?
No, I think the name sounds familiar.
If you saw it, you probably. I mean, it's different US and Canada, so maybe you haven't seen it, but I'd be surprised if you didn't encounter the image somewhere or another.
I'm gonna check it out right now on my phone.
Yeah, Arthur. Well, yeah, tell me if you know him or not.
Arthur PBS?
The Aardvark. Aardvark, surprisingly with 2 A's.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. I've never watched it though.
Yeah. It's pretty, I mean, it's very, very kiddie and very PG. But at the same time, I think it's one of those shows wouldn't hate to watch with their kids.
Right. Yeah.
Because it has a little bit of like the parents' perspective in there, complaining about their kids or whatever. I
remember when that 70s show came out, like my friend's mom loved watching it because we were the same age as the kids and she was the same age as the parents. And she was like, she was relating to them just as much as we were to the kids, you know? So. Yeah.
So did you grow up in Vancouver or?
No, Montreal. And then I moved here in 2007 when I was 27. And because of the League of Super Evil, which was like a really fun experience. Working with that studio was cool. And then I left that studio because I wanted to focus on directing features and the music, touring. But still was creating shows, and then at the same time started working on my first comic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So what is the next step for you? I mean, are you determined to remain a man of many talents, or is there one that you want to hone in on as you
what I want most is to focus on film directing. And I'm hoping that goes for people too as well, because I have ideas to do more books and a TV show and possibly a movie. The movie would be like Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit meets Beetlejuice meets Monsters Inc. kind of deal.
Would it be stop motion or?
If I do a feature, I'd like it to be live action. If I do an animated series, it'd be animated. And the books, I would, if I do sell quite a bit of, if I do get a following, I'd probably keep in the same style. If I don't, then I have to figure out a way to draw it faster. So I'd have to change the style, so I won't be stippling it as much anymore.
Some cross hatching instead.
Even that takes a while. Like, yeah, but maybe cross hatching will be a lot shorter. Yeah, that's.
I'm a big fan of Usagi Yojimbo. Is a comic by Stan Saki.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of cross hatching.
Yeah. Well, even Edward Gorey's books, those are his illustrations are. It's a lot of cross hatching. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that look. Yeah.
So what was the impetus for the project, like the spark? Like you kind of went into the target audience and like the general theme, but like where did the idea come from? Did it come to you years ago or was it something more recently?
It was years ago, but I still didn't know exactly what it was. I don't remember when it clicked in that I wanted to be Ghost, and I wanted to be called Ghost for people too. But yeah, I had that idea for about 2 years, and it mostly came from seeing Edward Gorey's book and then thinking, why isn't there more of these? Like, why haven't people done more of these? And then I want to do a kid's book that was kind of spooky, but had a really nice theme, and that parents could read too, and teenagers who are fans of like that kind of macabre stuff would be down with. And but I don't exactly remember when it all clicked in. And I remember telling some people the idea, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody it's like, oh, maybe you should do like this, maybe you should do like that. And like it's everyone was like a different idea. My bandmate Robbie's like, yeah, you should do a book. Like your idea is okay, but there's too many. And also, you should do a book where it starts off really PG, and as you turn the page, it gets more older and older, and by the end, it's just like a NC-17, like fucking shit up. It's like, yeah, that sounds really cool, but that's like a totally different book. Like,
yeah. And people who look at the first page and be like, I think this would be good for my kid.
Yeah.
Without thumbing through the rest.
Yeah. And then some other people would be like, oh, it's too scary. Some other people would say, oh, it's too kiddie, it's too cute, like everybody. So you just got to go with like your instinct. And I thought I would do something that I thought people would like, and that I would like myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there intention in the potential depth of profoundness to the title? Ghosts are people too. You could replace the term ghosts with any sort of person.
Exactly. That's the main theme, is that treat people like people, try and understand them. If you don't get them, don't judge, and you might change your perspective on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ghosts.
And ghosts. Yeah. And werewolves and vampires.
And mummies.
Yeah.
Mummies might be a good addition to the team that he interacts with.
Yeah.
So we are speaking the day or 2 days after Halloween. What were you, considering the theme of your book? What did you do? What did you dress up as? Do you celebrate Halloween?
Yeah, we Kelly was Top Gun, and I was Peter Pan. Peter is Peter Pan. Yeah. And we went to a friend's home, and then another friend's home, and then we try to watch horror movies, but we did it during the week. I showed her The Fly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then we watched Frankenweenie, Garfield's Halloween special. What else did we watch? The House with Clocks in Its Walls.
I've never heard of that.
Really good. Eli Roth directed it. I hate all his movies, but this one is a kid's horror movie, and it's really good. Like, this is the best movie he's ever done. It's got Jack Black in it and Kate Blanchett. Yeah.
Nice. I wanted to watch, but I didn't. The Peanuts, Charlie Brown, Halloween. It's been ages since I watched
Halloween
that.
one? I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I did see it. Did I see it? I don't know.
I have images of it in my head.
Yeah.
But I could have incepted myself. That's also possible.
Yeah. Do you mind if, because I'm using Kelly's computer, do you mind if we wrap it up somewhat soon? Do you have a lot of other questions? Or?
I wanted to maybe like 2 more questions, but if you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah, we can do 2 more. Okay. Yeah.
So one of my questions was, having not read Ghosts Are People 2, is if it delves into death and existential questions at all?
It doesn't do that at all.
No.
It's pretty simple. It just goes through what scares him as a ghost and why he does the things he does that might scare a living person. And he falls in love with the girl that he's sharing a house with, but she doesn't know he exists. And the very little things he can do, like, scares her away. So and then he just explains how we shouldn't be afraid of one another, and we should take the time to learn from each other, so we're not scared, because you can hurt someone's feelings, and you might miss out on a beautiful friendship or love with someone because you just were not there to understand. And at the end, there's like these tools on how to catch a ghost or discover if there's a ghost in your house that kids can do by grabbing infrared camera and a notepad to know when things are happening. So I really like books that were more interactive. And then there's 3 real ghost stories that I've heard throughout the years that are friendly ghost stories to prove that real friendly ghosts are there. And then you have an extra page at the end where you can write your own real ghost story. And you have an extra page where you can draw an image that showcases what you remember of the story. So it's interactive, it's fun, and super simple, but kind of spooky at times, but somewhat not.
Well, and also challenging, like fear as something more to be explored and overcome.
Yeah, there's a time, and I can show you the image in the book, but when the scary drawings, it scares him as well. And it's like when your parents are watching, the TV.
Oh yeah.
Watching like this when they're watching it, and he's scared of it. so
and I think that's an experience that we've all had as a kid, is encountering something that we weren't supposed to see that our parents are watching.
And so that's one of the spookiest images in the book, but he is afraid of it too. So it's just like to show that we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's an awesome moment. Well, I love the theme of interacting with the unknown. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know you before today, but I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime you have future projects, I'd love to hear about them and get to know you better through them and through conversations about them.
Maybe next time it'll be even more random. It'll be something such, you did a sculpture that can fly us in space? Sweet.
Whatever it is, I'd be happy to hear about it and learn about it, and the process that got you to bringing it to fruition, from something in your mind to something that we could all partake in.
Yeah.
So good luck with your Kickstarter. Thank you for your patience today.
Yeah.
And keep in touch.
All right. Cheers.